Hello everybody, hello, welcome. Welcome to my channel and welcome to another edition finally of Mangles, McCartney, where we will be tackling Rose Speedway from April 1973. This got its release. Wow, 1973. Well, where do we leave off the story? It was late 72. I had kind of missed the Wildlife album at that time. I had finally discovered that the Beatles had officially broken up in October of 72 when I saw the Flip Wilson show and figured it all out. Anyway, yeah, I was on a slow learning curve then, I guess. Anyway, Rose Speedway, 1973. Well, we all know that 73 was a big year for the Beatles, or at least it was for me anyway. 1973 was a big year. At some point in the latter half of 1972, I believe it was, my parents ordered for me Alpha Omega, which is a big multi-disc set of all kinds of Beatles songs, a couple of solo nuggets thrown in here and there. But who remembers that Alpha Omega set? That was a big gift for me at the time. When I got that, I played that thing non-stop. It opened up my eyes and ears to almost every facet of the Beatles' career. Coming into 1973, I was big on that album. The Red and Blue albums would come out as a result of Alpha Omega later, sometime in the year 1973. I don't have the exact dates in front of me here. Remember, this is off the cuff, this series. But the Red and Blue albums were big in 1973, and I got those as soon as they came out. So I had Alpha Omega. I eventually had the Red and Blue albums. That was a big Beatles year for me personally. Now, spring of 1973, just before this album came out, the big song was My Love. Let's be honest. I mean, that song is killer. The guitar solo is just unreal. It's one of those songs that just sticks with you, and if you've ever been in love or had those feelings, it's probably one of those songs that you put at the top of your list for conveying those feelings of love and joy of having newfound love in your life or having love in general in your life. It's a beautiful song. And I do remember that song specifically from that spring. I think it came out late winter, early spring of 73. And then I even remember my mom liking that song, okay? That's how much I remember My Love and being on the radio and stuff. My mom liked it. I loved it. It was just unreal. Okay, so how did I discover this album? Well, I knew of the song My Love. I'm into my Beatles big time, let's be honest. But it was in later spring. It had to be sometime after this album or just after it came out. I'm in the 6th grade. Now, for this album, I'm 11 years old, going on 12, when this album came out. I'm in 6th grade, and we used to have some fun days at school, especially when you got to the latter half of your school year. Things kind of lightened up a little bit. They softened up a little bit on you. You know, you had a little more fun, and you would get days where you could have cool days where you could bring in something from home, or I don't know about your school, but in our school we could bring in records, or if people had a cassette player or an 8-track, you could bring in things, or we might have like a day where we did a project or something. You could have music on in the background. It was pretty nice, you know, when you got to the end of the school year. And I remember one of the kids in this spring of 73 brought in 2 albums that really stuck me, because I don't believe I had either one. Well, I definitely didn't have this one. Magical Mystery Tour by the Beatles and Rose Speedway. And I don't think I had Magical Mystery Tour at the time, or I was right around the time I was getting it, but I was very intrigued that this other student brought in Magical Mystery Tour. But I was even more curious about this, because let's be honest, that's a very striking cover, one of the best covers in Paul's career, which Linda took this picture of him with the rose in his mouth and the motorcycle behind him. It's a very striking image. It just hits you, it sticks with you. And when that student brought in those 2 albums, and this being one of them, I just said, wow, that is a cool cover. Then they started playing the music, and wow, I know it gets a bad rap in some camps, but I liked it on first listen. Of course, My Love was on it. But it's just a wonderful, wonderful album, and I don't have the track list in front of me, so I won't go through although I'll take out one of the inserts, how's that? But I just remember being struck by Big Barn Bed and Get on the Right Thing, Two Good Rockers. I love the song One More Kiss. I thought that was a great little song. Little Lamb Dragonfly, to this day, is one of my favorites of Paul's. It's just a wonderful, wonderful listen. When the Night, the medley. I love the medley on here. I really, truly do, folks. I think it's a fabulous, fabulous piece of work by Paul. So anyway, when that student brought this album in and we got to listen to it, I was struck by it. I don't know how long it had been out. Could have been a month, could have been a few weeks, but I had to get this, and I definitely did by summertime. I got Red Rose Speedway and loved it. And to this day, I still like this album very, very much. Now, I have another memory of, let's say it's around that same time period, April of '73, right around the time when this album was coming out. Who remembers Paul, the James Paul McCartney TV special on ABC? Wow. Folks, I don't remember if I was at my parents' house or one of the relatives' house when we saw it, but we sat down and watched his special that night. And that thing just sat with me, and it has sat with me for all these decades. I loved it. I absolutely loved that TV special. Again, a boy being 11 going on 12, but the imagery in that special, the songs he played, it was colorful, a lot of different set changes and locations, and just, folks, I watched it recently and it took me right back. It took me right back to 1973 when I first saw it and loved it so much. What a great TV special. I'd like to hear what your thoughts are on it. I just still think it's fabulous. I think it's a great TV special. And let's go a little further now in the summertime. I'm over a friend's house. He had a tree fort, pretty cool tree fort, I might say. It had walls and a roof. You know, most tree forts are just a platform, but he had a cool one. I don't know if his parents helped him or what. He had a pretty cool tree fort. He had a bunch of us, of his friends, over, and all the other kids were there. And one of the kids, I remember, I don't know if it was, I can't remember to this day if it was an 8-track player or a cassette player. I might have been a homemade cassette or something, like one of those mixtapes or something. But somehow he had the song Live and Let Die. And I had never heard it yet, folks. I had not heard it. I'm not sure when that came out as a single. I want to say it was late spring, early summer that year. But when he played that song, and I remember him getting so into it, this kid. He was really, and when it got to the part where Paul sings, "Got to give the other fella hell," this kid screamed when it got to the word hell. He just screamed, "You got to give the other fella hell." Like he screamed it out so loud. And it just took us all aback. We were just like, whoa, he's really into this song. And you know what? I really enjoyed that song on that first listen, even with him screaming and everything. But he was into it. The other kids were getting into it. I loved it. I said, wow, that's Paul McCartney and Wings? Oh, wow, that's great. You know, I had no idea. And I made it my mission to eventually get the single, and I did, and I loved it. And to this day, I have to say, I've seen Paul numerous times over the years since the 89-90 World Tour. That was the first time I saw him. And you have to say, folks, if you've ever seen it, when he gets to Live and Let Die, and the special effects and the smoke and the bombs and the fire and the sparks and all that stuff, and the music is just so in your face, you gotta say, if that doesn't leave an impression on you when you see Paul, nothing will. And to me, out of all the concerts I've seen all my life, when he gets to that part in the concert, I've never seen a better use of special effects, music, smoke, atmosphere than when Paul does Live and Let Die. I mean, what do you all feel about that? But I just love it. And to this day, every time I hear that song, whether it's live in concert with Paul or on the single or on a compilation album, it takes me right back to that tree fort in 1973, listening to it with a bunch of kids and just getting into it and saying, that is fantastic, a great song. Another thing is My Love. Whenever he does My Love in concert, it's always a winner for me. I mean, if that doesn't bring a tear to your eye when you see him do that in concert, nothing will. It's just one of those songs, along with like Let It Be or Long and Winding Road or so many others, but that one particularly, My Love, it just melts your heart. It's just so great when he does it, and he dedicates it to Linda. You can't beat that moment in time. But as I said, I love so many songs on this album. I mentioned One More Kiss, Little Lamb Dragonfly, the medley with that little snippet of Hands of Love in the middle of it. I love that Hands of Love part. It's just such a catchy, upbeat song. Fantastic. But I have to say something, folks. I love this album. It brings back so many great memories. But ever since this came out right here, the proposed double album of Red Rose Speedway, yes, I will always love this album in its configuration, one of my favorites. But I have to say, folks, I like this a little bit more. I really do. I really think this is a fully realized effort. I really wish that this had been the original release with this cover, but with this double album in it, it's a winner, folks. This is an absolute winner. You cannot deny that this is a great piece of music right here. This is wonderful, but that double album just expands on this, makes it fuller, richer, more tasty. It's just a great album. I love the double album, and that's my go-to. I have to say right now, I have it on CD, I have the vinyl. Whenever I need a little fix of Red Rose Speedway, I put on the double now. I have to admit I do. It's just so good. I have to put it on. It's a fantastic album. I love it, and it will always be one of my top favorites of Paul's from here till the day I'm no longer here. So anyway, folks, that's Red Rose Speedway, April 1973, a fabulous album. And take care, bless you all, and bye-bye.